What if I told you the most powerful lion to ever walk the African savannah woke up one morning and couldn't even catch a mouse? This is the story of a king who lost it all. And trust me, you're not ready for what happens next. His name was Aragon, and when he roared, the entire savannah trembled. Elephants stepped aside. Crocodiles sank low. Even the wind seemed to pause just to listen. Aragon wasn't just a lion. He was the lion, the alpha, the legend. His mane was black as a moonless sky. His eyes burned gold, and his claws? Let's just say they'd carved his name into the bones of 100 challengers. Every sunrise, animals from across the kingdom would gather at Pride Rock just to see him. They didn't ask questions. They didn't challenge him. They simply bowed, because Aragon demanded respect. And for years, he got it. But Aragon wasn't always this way. Years ago, he was just another young lion in the pride. Strong, yes. Ambitious, absolutely. But not yet a king. His father, the previous ruler, was a wise and fair lion named Malik. He taught Aragon that true strength lies not in fear, but in the love of those you protect. But Aragon, he didn't listen. He watched as other animals took advantage of his father's kindness. He saw weakness where others saw mercy. And when a rival pride challenged them, and his father chose negotiation over war, Aragon decided he'd had enough. Father, you're too soft. The strong don't negotiate. They take. Malik looked at his son with sadness in his eyes. My son, the day you believe that is the day you lose yourself. But Aragon had already made up his mind. When his father fell in battle, betrayed by enemies who saw his kindness as weakness, Aragon didn't mourn. He took the throne, and he vowed never to show mercy again. Under Aragon's rule, the savannah changed. Animals no longer gathered out of respect. They gathered out of fear. He demanded tribute. The best hunting grounds belonged to him alone. Anyone who questioned him, they disappeared. The hyenas learned quickly. So did the leopards. Even the elephants, massive and powerful, chose submission over confrontation. One day, a young antelope named Nia approached him during the morning gathering. Great Aragon, my family is starving. You've claimed all the watering holes. Could we please? He cut her off with a roar so loud, she collapsed. You have water when I allow it. You eat when I'm satisfied. That is the order of things. His advisor, the old leopard Curry, whispered from behind. My king, perhaps we could share just one. Aragon's eyes flashed. Share? Kings don't share, Curry. Kings conquer. And that hunger for more, that's what led him to the mountain. Now, deep in the savannah, there was a place no one dared go. Moonstone Peak. A jagged mountain that pierced the clouds, wrapped in mist and ancient whispers. The elders spoke of it only in warnings. Never climb the peak. The spirits of the fallen kings watch over it. And what's theirs must never be touched. But Aragon, he didn't believe in ghosts. He believed in himself. The night before he climbed, the entire kingdom felt something was wrong. The birds stopped singing. The wind went still. Even the stars seemed dimmer. An old lioness, Elder Zawadi, the last remaining member of the original Pride Council, came to him. Aragon, I've lived through 5 kings. I've seen pride destroy them all. The mountain calls to those who crave power, and it has never shown mercy. Aragon laughed. You're old, Zawadi. Your time is past. Mine is now. She shook her head slowly. Then may the ancestors have mercy on you, because the mountain won't. Kari tried one last time. My king, please. You have everything already. Why risk? Because everything isn't enough. Aragon roared. I want what no king has ever had. I want immortality. I want unlimited power. And that stone will give it to me. Kari's voice was barely a whisper. And what if it takes everything instead? Aragon turned away. Then I'll take it back. One night, under a blood-red moon, stood at the base of the mountain. My king, please, don't do this. Aragon shook him off. I am the strongest. I am the smartest. I don't bow to dead kings. And with that, he climbed. The climb was harder than he expected. The steps were ancient, crumbling beneath his massive weight. The wind howled like voices screaming warnings. The temperature dropped until his breath came out in clouds. Halfway up, he saw something that made him pause. Bones. Lion bones. Massive ones. Scattered across a ledge. Someone else had tried this before, and they'd failed. For the first time in years, Aragon felt something cold in his chest. Doubt. But his pride was stronger. I'm not like them. I'm Aragon. He kept climbing. Near the top, the mist grew so thick he could barely see. And in that mist, he swore he saw shapes. Shadows of lions. Watching. Waiting. One looked just like his father. Turn back, my son, before it's too late. Aragon snarled. You were weak, father. I am not. The shadow disappeared, and Aragon reached the summit. At the summit, the air was cold, unnatural, and there it was, sitting on a stone altar, glowing like a trapped star. A shard of pure moonstone. The legend said it could grant unlimited power, strength beyond imagination, immortality even. Aragon's heart pounded. This is mine. He reached out. His claws wrapped around the stone, and the moment he touched it, everything went white. A deafening crack split the sky. Voices, dozens of them, roared from the darkness. You dare take what is not yours? Aragon tried to scream. But his roar didn't come. Instead, a tiny, pathetic mew. When he opened his eyes, the world had changed. No, he had changed. The rocks around him were suddenly massive. The wind felt like a hurricane. And when he looked down at his paws, they were tiny, soft, pink, helpless. He stumbled to a puddle of rainwater and stared at his reflection. Staring back at him wasn't the mighty Aragon. It was a kitten, a fuzzy, wide-eyed, harmless little house cat. His heart sank into his stomach. No, this isn't real. But his voice came out as a squeak. The spirit's laughter echoed across the peak. You wanted power, king. Now learn what it means to have none. And just like that, the greatest lion in history became the weakest creature in the savannah. Aragon stumbled down the mountain, dizzy, confused, terrified. When he reached the base, the sun was rising. Animals were gathering for the morning, just like always. He tried to roar. Mew. A zebra walked by and didn't even notice him. A warthog trotted past, kicking dust in his face. And then, he saw them. The hyenas. The same pack that used to scatter when he so much as glanced their way. Now, they were laughing. The leader, a scarred female named Zira, leaned down, her yellow eyes gleaming with amusement. Well, what do we have here? A little kitty lost in the big bad savannah? The pack erupted into cackles. Aragon's blood boiled. He lunged forward, claws out. But his kitten claws barely scratched her nose. Zira flicked him away like a bug. Pathetic. She walked off, still laughing. And for the first time in his life, Aragon felt shame. As the sun set, reality truly hit. Aragon had nowhere to go. No pride. No den. No protection. He tried to find shelter under a thorn bush, but even that was dangerous. Every sound made him jump. Every shadow could be a predator. An owl hooted above, and he nearly bolted. I used to be the predator, he thought bitterly. Now I'm prey. As darkness fell, the savannah came alive with sounds he'd never feared before. The rustle of a snake in the grass. The distant laugh of hyenas. The padding of a leopard on the hunt. He was alone. Truly, completely alone. And for the first time since his father died, Aragon was scared. The next few days were a nightmare. Every step was a fight for survival. A hawk nearly snatched him from the grass. A snake chased him into a thorn bush. Even a dung beetle stood its ground when he hissed at it. No one recognized him. No one feared him. He was invisible. Worse than invisible. He was nothing. On the third day, dying of thirst, Aragon approached the main watering hole, the same one he'd forbidden others from using. As he crept forward, he froze. There was Nia, the young antelope he'd humiliated. She was drinking peacefully, her family around her. Aragon's tiny heart twisted. He wanted to be angry, to rage at her, but he was too small, too weak, too nothing. He waited until they left, then scrambled to the water's edge. But before he could drink, a massive crocodile surfaced. Makuu, the same crocodile who used to bow to him. The reptile's eyes locked onto the tiny kitten. Well, what have we here? A snack? Aragon tried to sound commanding. I am Aragon, king of Mew, is all that came out. Makuu's jaws opened wide. Aragon ran for his life, scrambling up the bank as the crocodile's teeth snapped inches behind him. He collapsed in the dirt, panting and humiliated. I used to command him. Now he wants to eat me. As if things couldn't get worse, a small bird landed on a branch above him. A mockingbird. And it started mocking him. Mew mew mew. I am Aragon. Mew mew mew. It perfectly imitated his tiny voice. Other birds joined in, creating a chorus of humiliation. Aragon tried to swipe at them, but they just flew higher, laughing. Even the birds were mocking him now. He curled into a ball, defeated. How did I fall this far? One evening, starving and exhausted, Aragon tried to hunt a mouse. The mouse looked him dead in the eye and walked away. Aragon collapsed in the dirt, panting. I was a king. I was everything. How did it come to this? And that's when he heard it. A voice. Soft. Calm. Because you never learn the one thing a true king needs. Aragon spun around. Sitting on a rock was a small tortoise, ancient and wise, with a shell covered in carved symbols. His name was Omari. Who are you? Aragon hissed. Someone who's seen many kings rise and fall. Omari's eyes twinkled. You're not the first to be cursed, Aragon. But you might be the last if you don't change. Change. I don't need to change. I need my body back. Omari tilted his head. Your body was powerful, but your heart? Empty. That's why the spirits chose this punishment. You must learn humility, compassion, sacrifice. Aragon growled. I don't need a lecture, old turtle. Just tell me how to break the curse. Omari sighed. There is a way, but it won't be easy. You must travel to the sanctuary of reflections, deep in the whispering jungle. There, you'll face 3 trials. Pass them, and the curse will break. And if I fail, Omari's voice dropped. You stay a kitten. Forever. Aragon's stomach twisted, but he had no choice. Fine, I'll do it. But Omari wasn't finished. Before you go, Aragon, you should know something. What? You're not the first king to take the moonstone. There was another. 50 years ago. His name was Jabari. He was just like you. Proud, powerful, unbreakable. Aragon's ears perked up. What happened to him? Omari's eyes grew sad. He reached the sanctuary. He faced the trials. But he couldn't let go of his pride. And so, the curse became permanent. Where is he now? Omari pointed toward a distant human village. Living as a house cat. Collared. Caged. Forgotten. A prisoner of his own arrogance. Aragon's blood ran cold. That won't be me. Then prove it, Omari said softly. Because the trials don't test your strength, Aragon. They test your heart. The next morning, Aragon set off. Tiny paws padding through tall grass. Eyes scanning for danger. Every sound made him jump. But he kept moving. Because deep down, beneath the pride and the anger, he felt something he'd never felt before. Fear. And maybe, just maybe, that was the first step to becoming something greater than he ever was. The first obstacle was the burning plains, a stretch of dry, scorched earth where the sun beat down mercilessly. For a massive lion, it would have been uncomfortable. For a tiny kitten, it was nearly fatal. The ground was so hot, Aragon's tiny paws burned with every step. He had to hop from shadow to shadow, desperately seeking relief. There were no trees, no water, just endless heat. Halfway across, he saw a shape in the distance. A vulture, circling. It had spotted him. No, no, no. The vulture descended, talons out, eyes hungry. Aragon had nowhere to hide, nowhere to run. The bird dove, and Aragon did the only thing he could. He played dead, lying completely still, holding his breath, as the vulture landed beside him and poked at him with its beak. Don't move, don't breathe, don't move. The vulture tilted its head, confused. It poked him again. Then, losing interest, it flew away. Aragon gasped for air, shaking. I would have eaten that bird before. Now it almost ate me. Near the edge of the plains, Aragon collapsed. He couldn't go further. The heat, the hunger, the exhaustion. This is it. I'm going to die as a kitten. But then, a shadow fell over him. He looked up, expecting a predator. Instead, he saw Nia, the antelope. You, Aragon whispered weakly. She stared down at him, recognition slowly dawning in her eyes. Those eyes. I know those eyes. You're no? It can't be. It's me, Aragon admitted, his voice broken. It's Aragon. Nia should have walked away, should have left him there, after everything he'd done to her. But she didn't. You look like you're dying. I am. She sighed, then bent down. Come on. There's shade ahead. And water. Why are you helping me? Aragon asked. After what I did to you. Nia looked at him for a long moment. Because someone once told me that mercy is strength, not weakness. And even though you never showed me mercy, maybe it's time someone showed you what it looks like. She led him to a hidden oasis, gave him water, let him rest in her shadow. And for the first time, Aragon felt something he'd never felt before. Gratitude. As he recovered, Nia sat nearby, watching him. "What happened to you?" she asked. Aragon told her everything. The mountain, the stone, the curse. When he finished, she was quiet. "So you lost everything because you wanted more than everything?" He nodded, ashamed. "I was a fool." "Yes," she agreed. "You were. But maybe now you can become something better. Why do you even care?" Aragon asked. Nia looked toward the horizon. "Because I've seen what you were. A tyrant. A monster. But if you can change, if even you can learn, then maybe there's hope for anyone." She stood to leave. "The jungle is 3 days east. Be careful, Aragon. And try to remember this moment, when someone showed you kindness you didn't deserve." And with that, she was gone. Aragon sat there, staring at the spot where she'd been. Kindness I didn't deserve. For the first time in his life, he understood his father's words. 3 days later, exhausted but alive, Aragon reached the jungle. It was unlike anything he'd ever seen. Massive trees that blocked out the sun, vines thick as his former body, strange sounds echoing from the darkness within, and a mist that seemed alive. At the entrance, carved into an ancient stone, were words. "Only the humble may enter. Only the changed may pass. Only the worthy may leave." Aragon took a deep breath. His tiny paw crossed the threshold, and the jungle moved. Vines shifted, eyes glowed in the darkness. Whispers filled the air. The trials had begun. Will Aragon survive the trials? Will he learn what it truly means to be a king? Or will he stay a helpless kitten for the rest of his life? Find out in the next episode. Because this story, it's only just beginning. Comment below. Would you take the Moonstone? Or walk away? Subscribe to see what happens next, because Aragon's greatest battle isn't with his enemies. It's with himself.